Church. I'm happy to get back to you again. We are getting ready to start our prayer meeting. So if you're here, hello again. If you're not, I hope to see you at the next one. Wanted to get to you another one of our videos here, and just a reminder, and I'll probably remind you forever. The reason that we do these videos is so that we would not just be a church that hears a good word and then we go on about our business, but we hear a word and we're transformed by it, by becoming doers. That's what James says. He says, don't be just hearers of the word, but doers of the word. If we don't do, we become deceived, because we're thinking that we're becoming a certain way, but we're not really doing anything. But if we are doers of the word, then the word transforms us, because now we're walking it out by faith. And so that's the goal of every single one of these. I don't want us to be a church of good times, good preaching, good teaching, or good whatever. I want us to be a church that is transformed and is transformative by the love of Christ. And so, having said that, I wanted to give you a quick review of last week. As you guys know, we've been talking about 1 Peter. 1 Peter 1 in particular, and Peter calls us aliens. He says we're sojourners. It means we're passing through. And we've heard a lot of great teaching from Peter, but last week we talked about what is the number one marker for how we are going to be seen as passing through. And Peter unveils it in our last week's teaching when he says, be holy. That if we are going to be sojourners, those passing through, we will be marked by our holiness. And we know holiness doesn't mean perfection, but it means separateness. Are we different from the world? And so as we went through that, we saw that Peter actually gives us the way to become holy is to actually conduct your lives while on earth with fear. And it doesn't mean that we're walking around afraid of God, but it means that we're walking around with reverence, knowing that despite us going to heaven, we are still responsible for our actions. We're still responsible for what we do. And reverence towards God plays itself out by walking in fear, in a healthy fear, in the same way that a child makes sure that they stay in line because they do fear some type of correction from their loving parents. It's the same thing for us. The things that we do in this life, they have consequences. None of them are eternal. Because you do something bad here, it doesn't mean that you're going to hell, but it does mean that we are responsible. Even Jesus himself says to his disciples that we are responsible. We will be held accountable for every idle word. And so Peter actually, he brings that teaching into account when he says, conduct this life in fear, and in fear of the Lord, which is healthy. We see that fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. The other way that Peter offers up for us to be holy is that we would live a life worthy of the gospel. He calls us to remember that our lives weren't saved by a blood of a lamb. It was saved by perfect and imperishable, valuable blood of Christ. Every single believer has the blood of Christ on them. It's what protects us, but it's also something that we should remember, that when we wake up, those next 24 hours are 24 hours that have been redeemed by the death of Jesus. That should matter to us, and we should want to live lives worthy of the gospel. And so as we continue, I just ask you, those two areas, fear of the Lord and living a life worthy of the death of Christ, how often does that resonate in your everyday walk? Do you live a life not feeling as though what you do matters? Or do you live a life for the wrong motivations? Do you want to just live to be perfect in and of yourself? Or are you living to please the one who saved you? This next week is going to be great because we're going to transition into, and I'll just give it to you now, we're going to transition into how does that holiness work within the context of the body. Peter actually moves on and he says, okay, so be holy, live in fear of the Lord, live a life worthy of the gospel, all these things. But then he turns and he says, love your brothers and sisters in Christ. I promise you, there is not a more needed message in the body these days. It's super important that we understand this. So this next week, we're going to be saying, how does us passing through, how does us being aliens and sojourners, how does that play out into us loving our brothers and sisters in Christ? I'm very passionate about every message that we give, but I honestly believe that right now, 2020, amidst COVID, amidst racial issues, amidst political stuff, the one thing that we need as a body is for us to learn how to love each other better. We need it for the fellowship, but we need it for the body around us. And 1 Peter is actually going to go into it next week. So I look forward to teaching I look forward to seeing you guys again. We are meeting in person, socially distanced, but we do get a chance to get together. So come on through, and we will see you on Sunday. Bye.